Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at the Waterhole. My name is Amy, and I will be with you for the show today. And we are starting off here in the beautiful Tau Game Lodge in the Dikwe Game Reserve, thanks to African, and are viewing a lovely herd of elephants who have come to drink. And not only the elephants in the background there are some zebras, there were also some impalas around. Always such lovely diversity at this particular location. Now, remember everyone that this is a live and interactive show. So I would love to hear from you all at home. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and what you're hoping to see today on Live at the Waterhole. I think we are once again in store for plenty of Ellies. But no one is complaining about that, I am sure. If you do want to say hello to me or have any questions that you'd like to ask, please do send those through, and you can do them in a variety of ways, whether that's on the Wild Earth website, on the Wild Earth app. Otherwise, you can join the conversation on X using the hashtag Wild Earth, or pop your comments into the YouTube chat stream. Jan, so good to hear from you. Hello to you. You say good Friday, Amy. It is indeed Friday. I hope everyone is looking forward to their weekends ahead, and I hope that this makes your Friday afternoon, if it is afternoon for you, go a little bit quicker. There's a beautiful kudu bull just moving off to the left as well. We have viewers join us from all over the world, so everyone's time may be a little bit different, but here in South Africa it is just after 12:30 in the afternoon, meaning that it is a very warm part of the day for these elephants, and no wonder that they've come down for a drink. Quite a large elephant bull there now walking across in the background. It is impressive how much bigger he actually is than these cows and their calves. Really getting a sense of that height difference, standing head and shoulders above the others. And there is a South African shell duck there, just moving across the bottom of your screen, sort of the white face. Almost looks similar to a white-faced whistling duck, but a bit different. Now, it's interesting to note with these elephants, everyone, that they're not quite having the elephant pool party that we've become accustomed to seeing at the locations, particularly in Madikwe, with such high soaring degrees in the summer months. But we are heading into the heart of winter here in South Africa, and it is still warm in comparison, I suppose, to where some of you may be watching from, areas of Europe and America, where it can get very cold. So here in Madikwe, it's about 25 degrees Celsius. Very much lovely, mild day, perfect winter's day, but no need for them to sort of splash around and swim as much as they would in summer. You may find the odd one still doing that behavior, but it's definitely not as common, and that's just because it isn't as hot. Proudly SA, good to hear from you. Thanks for joining us once again today. You say you're always eager to spend some time with Ellies. I can never really get enough of it, to be honest, whether it's on the waterhole or on a live drive. It really is fantastic to spend time with these giants. I wonder if these wildebeest are also on their way to the water. One looks like it's coming down. Now, this particular spot, we often do see crocodiles. I don't know when last one has been seen, but often the animals here are extra cautious around coming to drink. You can see how close to the edge those wildebeest stand, not getting one step closer than they absolutely have to. Looks like these two bulls are, I'm not actually sure if they're saying hello to each other or just a bit of a, I wouldn't say fighting at all, but the one on the left is a lot larger than the one on the right, so that you can see how he's placing his trunk on top of the other one's head. A bit of dominance there, just showing that sort of hierarchy between the two of them, but there's a bit of playfulness in there as well. I mean, they're not really any worries about competition at this point. The one on the right is a lot younger and a lot smaller. Looks like he's just being pushed around a bit, almost like a bit of father and son interaction in a way, but of course that may actually well be his father, who knows. But you've sort of got that interaction that's often seen between male elephants, especially between ones that are a lot larger and smaller, where there's no real serious fighting that can take place because the one will very quickly submit. But then when you've got two bulls of equal stature, that can become a lot more serious. Jack 2, hello. You were asking, have I ever seen lions or leopards at this waterhole? I've seen lions. There was once, I think it was a mating pair, if I'm not mistaken, a male and female. They were sort of off in the tree line, very far away, but we did identify them as lions. So that was very cool, but never a leopard. Not yet. This is so great to see, everyone. How awesome to see two elephant bulls like this. Like I say, not very serious. I almost feel like the younger one is almost learning or practicing his skills with the older one. Looks like the larger bull has now pushed that younger one very far to the right. A lot more strength and power in him. And I think these animals must really enjoy the cooler temperatures that have arrived now in winter. This is fascinating to see the behavior of these two elephants, and I'm watching with great curiosity as well to see when the smaller one is going to say, okay, that's enough of that. I don't want to be hurt. Well, this has been a fantastic start to the show here, everyone, and we are going to leave these two Ellie bulls and head over to another elephant at Naledi. Well, we have come all the way across over to the Lowveld, where there is an elephant having a drink here at the Lady Dam in Olifants West Game Reserve. The trough is looking very full there. Usually by the time a whole herd has come past, the trough can go down to even lower than what you can see the water, but they do refill it. One of the pumped water holes within the locations that we show you here on the show. And often the elephants drink from this trough because it has the fresh, clean water in, and the more dirty water that we see in the natural water hole on the left is reserved for splashing and covering themselves with mud, usually. Claire, I believe you are interested in seeing some more birds. Well, we are going to do our best to see if we can find you any. If I hear any calls that I recognize, I'll also point them out for you. But we often have a lot of luck with birds, depending on where we go and what's around. But like I said, if I do see or hear anything, I'll make sure to let you know, Claire. Looks like this elephant's now actually resting his trunk on the side of that trough. And sometimes we see little things, maybe even like a three-banded plover that would be down here on the water's edge wading. Some of the smaller things, even like black crakes in between the grass. Sometimes ring-necked doves come down to drink. Blue waxbills, green-winged patilias. They form what we call a bird party. And that's always a lot of fun when you're out on game drive to find a bird party moving through an area. Southern black tits are another common bird we see, and they have a very distinctive call. I actually was running this morning and I heard a fork-tailed drongo mimicking a southern black tit. Drongos are very good at mimicking calls. One bird we won't see so much of now are weavers. In the summertime, especially around our last location at Tau, we heard tons of them and saw them building their nests across from the camera. And they would often build on overhanging branches over water, especially the southern mast, lesser mast, and village weavers, sorry. And it's because of the summertime being the breeding season for the weavers that we don't hear them all chirping away and building their nests. They would have finished with that now, and the males go out of their breeding plumage, and you can still see them in their flocks moving around, but they're not as quite easily recognized. Well, that Ellie has moved off. Everyone finished his drink here at the Lady Dam. And I think what we are going to do is head over to another little spot, which we love to look for a few little birdies. So, Claire, I hope you are still watching. Let's head over to Rosie's pan and see if we can do some birding. Now, usually we have quite a variety of different birds that tend to hop down to sort of the top right corner of this waterhole. But we're going to do a slow scan around, see if we can see anything. If nothing pops up, then we'll maybe head back to some elephants a bit later on. Oh, I do see a bird that's just hopped down in that spot. Maybe a starling, actually. And there is the bird. Oh, it's just hopped away. But it does look like a starling. I'm not exactly sure which one, either greater blue-eared or a Cape starling. It's based on the size. There was a bit of movement behind the log there as well. Oh. I think the birds will come out soon, everyone. There's definitely some around. There is something that's just come out. If we go a bit higher on the log, I think it is a small skink or lizard type creature that I saw moving. It was just slithering out of that darker spot there just below. There's sort of a cavity in the middle of the log. It was moving to the left. These little skinks and things do move very quickly. So we could be looking at something like a striped skink, maybe a type of lizard. They would also be trying to absorb as much sunlight as possible, being reptiles. And that's the typical sort of habitat that you would see for things like lizards and skinks, finding sort of a dark spot to spend during the night time and then coming out in the day to heat up on something like that. Oh, there are some birds that have arrived. And those look like some blue waxwills. Very, very sweet birds. Very beautiful as well with their bright blue chests. And that's a good sign. Often when the blue wax bills do arrive, we see some of the other smaller things, like I was mentioning when we were at Naledi, like green-winged patilias, maybe grey-headed sparrows. Now that does actually sound like Impala's alarm calling, but it is also the time of the rut with Impalas, so it does make it a little bit tricky to sometimes distinguish whether they actually alarm calling or if they are males that are making a noise. Although that doesn't sound like too much grunting. This is a location where we've seen lions before. Oh, they're impalas. Let's just see if we can pick up where they're looking. Okay, I think they've seen something, everyone. Because they look like they're all standing looking in one direction, and it does seem like they are alarm calling rather than rutting. So if we just maybe pan to the right. I think they may have spotted something walking past. There's no guarantee that we will see it ourselves, but it could have been a leopard walking down the road, maybe a lion. They don't seem too bothered, but they definitely are alarm calling. You can see the road just there in the middle. This is very exciting, everyone. Oh my word. It'll definitely be within their line of sight because they were looking in a particular direction as if they could see whatever it was. And there's some warthogs. I don't think that they would be alarm calling for that though. Unless they're very confused impalas. Well, there was definitely potentially something around here, or maybe still is. It's amazing how immediately I heard that and I thought, ooh, maybe not this time of year. And then when we looked at them, you could see how they weren't feeding. They were just all staring in one direction. And then those alarm calls were going off one after the next. So it's impossible to say what they saw, but whatever they saw, they felt the need to alarm call against. I really hope it wasn't those warthogs. Otherwise, these impalas are very, very confused. wanted to do was just ask about impalas' tails, if they do anything. So generally they are now quite flat down, but if they were starting to run, then that tail would flick up and we would see that white displayed quite prominently. But at the moment, they pretty much look normal. But one or two have lost interest, one or two are still looking. Could have also been, let's say, a false alarm, and now they're all still panicking. They very much are like sheep in terms of following what one does, the others will do as well. And you want to know if I get frightened when a predator shows up out of nowhere, or are you just used to it now? Well, on this show in particular, no, definitely not. It's actually quite exciting. And I would say it's the same. Oh, you can see this male impala herding his females there. It's the same on drive. I mean, I find it's so exciting if a predator does just pop up out of nowhere. You sort of have a bit of an adrenaline rush, as it were. But I'm definitely used to it. I think if you aren't used to it and you're not expecting to see something like that, it can be very frightening for a big male lion to just walk out the bush while you're watching a peaceful sunset scene, for example. So, and I'm definitely used to it by now, but I do know that it would be quite a scary situation for other people who aren't used to that. Well, those impalas are now moving off. I'm not sure what that was, everyone. We can only speculate. There could have been a brief glimpse of maybe a leopard, maybe a lion. Lenny, yes. So ratting season will end within the next sort of week or two. It does sometimes extend a bit further into June. It really just depends on the individual male impala's testosterone levels and when they sort of start to calm down a bit. But yes, it will definitely be coming to an end soon. So the peak ratting season is sort of the middle 2 weeks of May. First and second week of May is really where you just hear impalas ratting all over throughout the night. And so it is starting to lend itself towards the end, but it is still very much on the go at the moment. I've just seen that same little reptile creatures now running along the log towards the right edge of the screen. It does look like something small. I think it may just be a striped skink. There are also some birds still hopping about there. Well, this was quite an exciting time here at Rosie's, unexpectedly actually, but still very, very cool. We are going to head off now and see what's happening at Mabula. Apologies, everyone. We won't be going there just at the moment. The feed froze, so we are going to stay here for a little bit longer. I did see one or two of those little waxbills come down again. I think there was another starling as well in between. Oh, beautiful. Now that actually looks like, yes, I thought I heard yellow-fronted canary. So that's the one, just the yellow one there. You can see it almost has that black eye stripe and then black coming up through the center of its forehead and just below its cheeks. That is a yellow-fronted canary. Oh, not that one, the other one. That actually looks like a red-headed weaver. Either the female or the male that's out of breeding plumage. Quite distinctive, soft yellowy color with a pale pinkish beak and a white belly. You can just see that yellow-fronted canary now popping out. Oh, it's just disappeared again. But very pretty little song, and I thought I heard that calling, and I was waiting to see if it was going to pop out for us, which I'm very happy that it did. Birding is often about patience. If you sit at a spot long enough, they will appear eventually, and sometimes with lovely little surprises in between. You can see some of those old weavers' nests that I was talking about. Now sort of finished. They've dried up and lots of them do fall down. there's something in that hole. It does look like there's a small little head sticking out, or is it just the sun that's moving there? Sort of a white speck in the big large cavity in the middle of this tree. Ah, it's a hole straight through it. So it's the leaves moving on the other side that made me think there was something moving in the hole. You can see the leaf shadows moving on the far side, and there's actually a hollow that stretches all the way through the trunk of this tree. And that sort of cavity is the perfect nesting option for many of the birds out here. I think that we had violet-backed starlings nesting in here this year, or there was a tree close by where they were nesting, but any sort of starling would enjoy that sort of cavity. Things like green wood hoopoes, even red-billed and yellow-billed hornbills would use something like that. So quite a few different bird species that do use hollow tree cavities like this one. All right, everyone, we do have an elephant that is visiting us at Cat Eye Pan, so let's head over there and say hello. It looks like a large elephant bull has come for a drink here at Cat Eye Pan. And this elephant is quite large, but you can see how short its tusks is relatively. Still quite thick though, so mature individual nonetheless. We were chatting yesterday about genetics and how they play a role in elephant tusks and their length and size depending on the individual elephant. Bulls tending to have bigger, longer tusks than females. But this elephant's looking very content with life at the moment. Painted Lady, good to hear from you. You say, all I can think of is the entire ecosystems in the water that we do not even see. And absolutely, Painted Lady, it's an incredible wonder as to what we cannot see that is happening at a microscopic level. Things that are under the water that we don't see just because they're under the water, whether that's from animal life inside of the water, plant life inside of the water, as I said, microscopic level, things that are going on with regards to nutrients and things like eutrophication. And we spoke about algae yesterday. That all happens as well on a microscopic level, which then comes out in a way that we can see in the form of algae and nutrient-rich stagnant warm water that forms those algal blooms, bacteria that's interacting, all different forms of life that is going on in these ecosystems within the water, but also in around a waterhole. A waterhole itself is its own little ecosystem, and you have so many factors that are interacting together and performing an ecological role. And you take any one of those seemingly unimportant parts, and there may be a massive effect on the animals that come to drink, the amount of water available, the amount of water that can be consumed by animals. That may affect what animals come to the water, that may affect then what predators come to the area, and in the end you've got this sort of domino effect. And so everything that plays a role here, no matter how small, is very important. So it is amazing to think of, in terms of what we can see, is only just scratching the surface, I think, of all the different things that are actually going on within ecosystem. And it's all part of the wonder of the bush. And when you start to begin to have some sort of understanding of the level of detail that you can explore in these ecosystems, that actually becomes quite overwhelming. And you learn to just appreciate the fact that we have these natural areas, that we have places where all of this is still intact and functioning as it should be, is just wonderful. And you become, well, myself become quite passionate about conserving that so that we can save it for future generations, which at the end of the day is what for me is really important. There we have a blacksmith lapwing, everyone. It's just resting there. Scanning around to see if we can spot anything else. Well, this has been very cool to be back here at Cat Eye Pan. It has been a while since we've been here, but now we are going to leave this blacksmith lapwing to enjoy the peacefulness of Cat Eye Pan for itself, and we are going to head over to Tembe to visit some more elephants. And there we go. The elephants are still around here at Tembe, everyone, and this particular bull is taking some time to rest, flick away some flies. It's still looking so lush and green here in comparison to the low veld where we just were. Much more higher rainfall here in northern KwaZulu-Natal where Maputo is. I do wonder if he's already had water, if he's heading towards the water. Maybe he wants a bit of a dust bathe. These elephants here over the last few days have actually been doing quite a bit of that. Coming and throwing sand on themselves. This elephant has very beautiful tusks now that he's turned around a bit to show off to us. Fish and chips, I don't have an exact answer for you in terms of numbers of snakes in this particular area, but there are plenty of snakes within northern KwaZulu-Natal. It's quite a tropical habitat, still classified as a part of the savanna biome, but with quite a lot of heat, quite a lot of moisture around. There's good breeding ground for snakes, and for example things like Mozambican spitting cobra, puff adders. There's plenty of venomous, but also lots of non-venomous snakes that would be around. But they're healthy, let me put it that way. I don't think there's any snakes that are suffering in these particular areas in the wilderness. And although snakes may not be everyone's cup of tea, they do play an important role within ecosystems, as we were just talking about with Painted Lady. They are important to control rodent populations, to manage other animal species that their numbers need to be monitored, and then obviously they're also a food source for many other predators out here, some of the smaller carnivores that hunt snakes, including raptors, birds of prey, most well known being the snake eagles that do eat snakes in particular, form the majority of their diet, specializing in capturing and eating snakes. Well, it's been lovely to spend some time with this beautiful elephant bull here at Tembe, but why don't we head up to Kenya and see some giraffes at Old Donyo. Perhaps we'll see them come and drink, everyone. Is intently looking. Maybe it spotted something in the distance that it's just checking before it comes down to the water. And a few oxpeckers on its neck there as well. You can actually hear the oxpeckers calling. Come on, giraffe. It's perfectly fine. I do feel for these giraffes. They must be so desperately thirsty, but they have to wait so long until they're ready to come down for water. It looks like this is a female. You can just see on top of her horns there, they are fluffy. They're not balding or sort of without fur on the top. In comparison, look at the male on the right. Much thicker horns there, all the way to the top, and then they bald on top. You can also see his penile sheath there. Looks like a little belly button on him. Oh, Mindy, welcome. Thanks so much for letting me know. You say that giraffes drinking is your favorite thing to watch in the bush. Well, enjoy, Mindy. Well, I'm glad the one did get some water. Now, these 4 giraffe, interesting. They keep looking back this way. Maybe there is some movement from the lodge. This one's making its way back towards the water. I think eventually they will come and drink. Well, this has been a beautiful sighting, everyone, but we are going to head over to Tau Lodge to see what's happening over there. Well, it is indeed Ellie's galore here, everyone. We're just taking a moment to take in this beautiful scene. And yes, absolutely. As you say, Ellie's galore, and they are enjoying themselves here at Tau. You can see their reflections in the water. It's so beautiful. And slowly they've been moving this way, actually. It's always nice to sometimes take a bit of time and just look at their behavior, see what's going on, anything interesting happening. And with the Ellies, you never know. There may always be something surprising. The one on the far left there is actually starting to splash itself with a bit of mud, which we haven't seen these elephants doing too much, just because it is that cooler weather now. Although still sunny, it's definitely not those high 30, almost 40 degree temperatures that we experience here in summer. And you can see there is a black-headed heron in the grass closest to us, in case anyone was wondering what a bird that is. Paul, you want to know what determines which side of the waterhole they go to. So often there may be areas that possibly a little bit deeper, for when they like to sort of mud wallow. Maybe they prefer certain spots where the water tastes a bit better, a bit cleaner. And often I find that this time of the year they're tending to go where they are there in the further back to that sort of alcove. And this water on this side is getting a lot more muddy, so it's great for them when they want to, if they want to do any splashing about. But basically it what determines where they go. Is it's all about the what they're looking to do. If they're looking to drink, there'll be areas that have better tasting water, for example. If they're looking to splash around, there'll be areas with better mud, and that's all the things that contribute to where the ellies end up going. Also space. So depending on how many elephants are around, they may be forced to head to different areas of the waterhole as well. There's a little one there on the left that is just having the time of its life. Actually, another one's just sat down now as well. Oh, fantastic. I haven't seen elephants doing this in a very long time. Sally, hi. You want to know if it happens that female elephants join other herds. Sally, that is not typical behavior for elephants. Whether male or female, males leaving the herd, they sometimes form what we refer to as bachelor herds. Sometimes they're completely on their own, and that happens from their sort of mid-teenage years onwards. Whereas with females, they generally will stay in their natal herd for the rest of their lives. I have seen it before and also read about females leaving their natal herd and basically forming a new herd for themselves. So them going and joining a different herd, I've never heard of that happening myself. I suppose it's possible. It's not like if we think of a lioness leaving her pride, or maybe her pride is killed and she's the only survivor and she wants to try and join another pride. That often leads to that individual being killed. I've heard of that before happening because it's a threat to them. Whereas with elephants, they're not quite there's plenty of food to go around, let me put it that way. And having one extra mouth to feed is not necessarily a life or death situation. They're not territorial either. So the possibility of something like a elephant joining a different herd in comparison to the likelihood of a lioness joining a different pride is probably more likely. just thinking of what I've heard and read and seen myself based on the behavior of those animals. But I've never actually read of an instance. There may very well be recorded times where a elephant female has left her natal herd and joined another one. But if her natal herd is still around, there's no real reason for something like that to take place. The only times where I would think something like that would happen is if something happened to her herd. Maybe she was lost, or they were killed, or something like that, and she was alone and needed to join a new herd. But I have heard of females leaving their natal family groups due to sort of resource pressure and just feeling like they need to move off, and then them and their calf and their calves to come form a new herd. So Sally, I hope that answers your question. But an interesting topic to talk about, and it's one of those things with elephants and animals in general. When we speak about certain behavior, there may be exceptions to the norm, and even though we think they are quite predictable in some ways, there are always instances and maybe exceptions to the rules that do exist. Artie, hello. You said it's always funny watching baby elephants run. Lol. They are very funny. I could just see one running across now in the background. They always sort of stick out their tails. They flatten their ears. Sometimes they spread out their ears as well, but it's almost like those little legs. Oh, that little one just had a face plant there on the floor. Off you go, little one. Keep up with mom. That little note that you're hearing there is the first note of a chin spot battis's call. It sounds like a one-note whistle. There we go. Artie, you said it's always funny watching baby elephants run. Lol, indeed, and there are some running at the moment, and it is very interesting to watch them. They almost always have their little tails straight out, their ears flat against their heads, and their little legs have to move so much quicker to keep up with mom and the others of the herd. Well, it was wonderful to see some elephants here at Tau, everyone, but we are going to head over to the other location in Madikwe and see what's happening at Jamala. And more Ellies, everyone. Wow. And some of these have started a pool party indeed. You can see the color difference, ones that are wet and ones that are dry. You can hear that grunting in the background. That's an impala ratting. And you can see how sometimes with the odd bark in between, it may sound like alarm calls, but that is indeed a male impala ratting at this time of year. There is a tiny calf there. Oh my word, it just rolled down on its knees in its face on the far side of the waterhole towards the right. That was adorable. Oh, it's done it again. It's obviously enjoying rubbing itself in a bit of mud or dust. Artie, wow, that must have been an incredible video. You say you saw a baby elephant that had gotten stuck in the mud, and the other elephants helped to get it out. Teamwork made the dream work that day. Yes, indeed. And I think if any animal is sort of vulnerable to being stuck in very thick mud, it would be a baby elephant. And just like the herd comes to even help it sometimes get up hills, I've seen them do that. It's incredible. Or even cross rivers, they help keep it afloat. They are so supportive of the little ones. It's just instinctual. They don't even consider anything else. They just immediately help. And I'm sure that must have been an amazing video to see of the whole herd helping a little baby that was stuck in the mud. Vicky, hi. You are loving all the Ellies that are out here today. Me too. It really is fantastic. Yvonne, there are many, many birds that we can hear and see here. I actually just heard a hardy-dar ibis, which is quite a common bird throughout South Africa, calling. But definitely Egyptian geese would be another really common one, blacksmith lapwings. Just thinking, are there so many? Sometimes even guinea fowl, small three-banded plovers, things like Kalahari scrub robin, white-browed scrub robins. There's lots of different bird diversity. Different types of storks and herons, which we often see around Tau Lodge, which is where we just were with the other herd of elephants. And there's a lot of water birds, a lot more variety of water birds we see there. So I've just checked on my birding app, Yvonne, and what's quite convenient is that they have a specific list for certain birding sites within Southern Africa, and one of them is, of course, Madikwe Game Reserve. So to give you an idea of the bird species, there are 384 listed species for Madikwe Game Reserve that have been seen here. Common would be different types of babblers like arrowmouth babblers, crested barbets, the chin spot batters that are pointed out at Tau, bee eaters as well, possibly something like a golden breasted bunting I've seen here at this waterhole drinking. Of course, lots of different doves would also be quite common. Then there's also birds of prey, so different types of eagles, hawk eagles, buzzards, that sort of thing. I actually don't think I've seen one on the show, but I do know that they definitely can be seen within the greater area. So a large range, Yvonne, and like I say, 384 species that have been recorded at this particular reserve. slowly but surely it looks like these Ellies are moving off everyone. Just before we end the show this afternoon. I can't believe that it goes so quickly, these 2 hours, but we've had a fantastic show with such variety, starting off at Tau with the Ellies. We also had wildebeest and giraffe, a big kudu bull. And then we had as well those beautiful giraffes up in Kenya. That was lovely to see. They just kept multiplying. There was 2, then there was 3, 4, 5, and I think by the end, before we left, there were 6 on screen, which was very cool. We did some birding at Rosie's Pan, which turned into a little bit of excitement there with the alarm calls from impalas. I'm still not sure what happened, but I do know that they definitely saw something, or thought they saw something that was worth alarm calling at, which was very, very cool. And now we have been enjoying elephants both at Tembe and here at Jamala. Mac, you love a Ellie pool party. Well, we were spoilt to see a little bit of one happening today here, and a little bit of one happening at Tau as well. Hannah, it's a pleasure. You say thanks for the awesome experience. Well, I'm so glad that you've enjoyed it. I do hope that all of you will join me again tomorrow, where we are back doing the same thing, the same time, same place, right here on Wild Earth. But straight after this, you'll be heading into the On Safari show. So please do make sure that you stay tuned for that, followed immediately by your live sunset drive. I'm sure you are all very much looking forward to that as well. But from me personally, thank you so much to all of you at home for sending through your comments and your questions. We really do always appreciate it. It was wonderful to hear from you, and so many of you are repeat viewers as well. So it's good to know that you're watching and that I can hear from you, and we can chat over the days and have conversations and learn from each other, which is always fantastic. And I very much do enjoy getting to know all of you at home. Anyway, everyone, our time has sadly come to an end. Like I said, I will be back tomorrow and Sunday before I head off the show for a bit. But I'm looking forward to the last 2 days of the waterhole with you all. So please do make sure that you tune in, and we'll chat again tomorrow, where we continue to see what comes down to the waterhole. Goodbye for now.
If you've missed the last 24 hours, don't worry about it, because that's what we're for. Welcome to On Safari.